This was once a dream for the man who felt that education is the most important thing for a child to learn, where they can grow, seek out fortune and opportunity, as well as discover who they are as a person. Now this man's dream has been created as Oxford Brookes, but how it became from a dream to reality was from hardship and endurance. We must go back to the beginning where it all first started.
A 150 years takes us back to the mid-Victorian era, very different era. The building, the Taylorian Institution, was finished in the 1840s with funds from Sir Robert Taylor, who was an 18th century architect. And most of the time since, the building has changed dramatically. But it's exciting to see that the very roots of Oxford Brookes University were here in the basement, as far as I know, right here, and that makes it a very significant part of the Taylorian history.
John Henry Brookes was instrumental in bringing the institution to where it is today. When he inherited the Technical and Art School, they hadn't changed much since the beginning. They had terrible premises, and he really changed rather a lot. He increased the curriculum. He introduced courses such as printing and architecture, and he did that by befriending local professionals and borrowing premises and equipment. Student numbers increased under him. In one period, it tripled over the space of 2 years. He brought in sandwich courses and day release courses. He brought in professionals to mentor and to motivate the students. And most importantly, he pushed for education for everyone. And he did this against the odds, really, especially against World War II breaking out.
It was a terrific achievement, really, because 19 separate buildings, it was very difficult to manage an institution like that.
Yes,
and
yes.
As I recall, there were 3 particular sites. There was what is now Nuffield College in New Road, I think it's called. There was the Cowley Road, and then there was the
Yes.
part of the Morrell Estate in Headington, where
Yes.
the college eventually moved to. But that took a lot of effort to get that done.
Yes.
And Sir Kenneth Weir was quite an important
He was,
man
yes,
in that.
Yes, I remember. Of course, I wasn't there when much of this was going on because I'd come to Birmingham. But I know he was very glad of the help that he got.
Brian Brown is an honorary fellow and advisor to Oxford Brookes. He has written a biography on John Henry Brookes called John Henry Brookes, the Man Who Inspired a University. Brian knew John Henry Brookes in person from his time at Chaney School, and he also knew of his contribution to the Institute.
There were 19 places in all over Oxford. Remarkable, really, and they're stories of chains of school children or school children age walking about all over Oxford in great snakes going from one building to the other. So it was very, very difficult. But so Brookes, apart from building the institution, really felt obviously really that it should be housed in decent accommodation in one building, and he really fought for that. And they were still in all these dilapidated premises all over Oxford. So his goal was absolutely set after the end of the war in 1945 to get this institution under one roof. Like 1949, the governing body and John Brookes persuaded the Oxford City Council to buy a site. But they found a site of 33 acres in Headington, which had been part of the Morrell Estate. And it's a rather nice story because one of the original benefactors of the Oxford School of Art in 1865 was from the Morrell family. And so it's a sort of a round story that they come back to the moral estate to establish the new college. And so the land was bought by Oxford City Council, and John Brookes worked with his colleagues to design the new institution, worked with the City Council architects, and just remarkably, although the plans were agreed by the Education Committee, the full City Council turned it down in 1950, and everybody was absolutely shocked. Oxford needed this institution, and they turned it down. And unbelievably, naively, the City Council seemed to say, well, Oxford's not an industrial town. I think Lord Nuffield would have been very, very unhappy about that. At any rate, so they had the public meeting in the town hall, and the plans were subsequently revised. Then the City Council passed it for building. John Brookes himself retired in 1956. He'd worked in Oxford for 28 years and really seen the whole development of this institution. Most of the activities, virtually all the activities of the 21st century university were established in that 28-year period. It was a remarkable achievement. And in 1963, when the site was formally opened by the Duke of Edinburgh, Brookes wrote a speech which coined these two wonderful phrases. He called the years in St Ebbs and in Oxford, where he was struggling, the lean years, and he called Headington the promised land. And indeed, that's what it's turned out to be.
Andy Glass is a member of staff at Oxford Brookes and has been here for more than 40 years. He has worked on a few campaigns to promote and help the university.
Very much a one-campus college. But as development went on, so we acquired the site at Wheatley, what was the former Lady Spencer Churchill College, and then the site at Harcourt Hill. So we sort of started spreading to satellites again. It was a very different institution, both in the way it appeared and the way you worked in it. The appearance of the site was very different. When I started, there were many of the buildings which are here now which were not built. The JHBB clearly, which is only finished a couple of years ago. Gibbs building wasn't there, the library extension wasn't there. There was quite a lot of changes as we became a university. We had a year or so before become a corporate body, so we had come out of the control of the county council. So we had developed all our own infrastructure, payroll, finance, HR, which had all been done by the county. And then we were still on that change as we became a university. And during that time, yes, it was quite a growth in the directorates, the non-teaching parts of the university. And so we were developing ourselves as a body on our own rights and deciding our future and what we were going to call ourselves. Was it going to be, I don't know, Oxford University at Brookes or Oxford University in Headington, and there was a number of different scenarios, but it fixed on Oxford Brookes University.
I think the thing that comes to mind for me when I think about the Polytechnic is that whenever you meet anyone who attended the Polytechnic or taught here during that time, talks about it as such a golden era in the evolution of our institution. I think the first time I became aware of this was sort of colleagues of mine actually who did attend the Polytechnic and now work here as lecturers and other staff. And they always talk with such fondness about the time that the Polytechnic was, you know, this real sort of golden days of fantastic status within the UK as a Polytechnic and just a really great student life.
Brian Brown helped with the governors in choosing the name for the university as we know it today. Brian was the one who put forward the name of Oxford Brookes. Oxford seemed appropriate because of the beginnings at the Oxford School of Art, and Brookes because John Henry Brookes was considered the spiritual founder, and that is how Oxford Brookes got its name.
I think it's been such an interesting thing to look through our history and look at how we've evolved as the years have gone on. You know, we've not only had other really interesting institutions who've had very interesting histories that have come to join us at different points in our history, but for us as well, you know, we started out as the Oxford School of Art. We went through different iterations at the time, sort of responding to local and later national need for education, and I think becoming university is a really sort of big step for Brookes. I think in those early days, looking back through our archive material, there's some really interesting pieces which happened around that time, certainly in terms of setting out our values quite clearly. So, for example, we became the first fair trade university in the 90s, and I think that was really important for sort of showcasing a lot of our views around sort of the impact that we feel that Brookes should have on the world and the generosity with which we want to treat everyone around us.
In building the JHBB and developing Abercrombie, we once again hit difficulties where planning permission wasn't granted, and 2005 saw a considerably well-developed publicity campaign. Planning permission had been turned down, we had to make sure it was accepted the next time. It was costing us dearly in time, and so there was a big publicity campaign, the economic impact of Brookes University, and I was one of the people chosen to be in the publication, and I had my photograph on the back of a bus. There was all sorts of different things, but it was a successful campaign. We got planning permission. In 2006, I suppose it was, we started the process to create the buildings we've got here now.
I think what anniversaries do, it's a time to take stock. It's a time to stop and look back and acknowledge the history and acknowledge how far Oxford Brookes has come, but at the same time look forward and see where it wants to go next. What will the next 150 years hold? And it's a really, you know, it's a great time to celebrate and acknowledge all that it's taken and all the history has created to come to this part.
Over the last 150 years, Oxford Brookes has grown and extended within and out of Oxford. John Henry Brookes envisioned the Institute as a land of fortune, happiness and opportunity, which will keep on growing over the years to reach the goal of the promised land.